Hello ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year's. This is my end of the year kind of movie review. Because in the past I used to do a lot of movie reviews on this channel. I don't really do movie reviews on the channel anymore. Sometimes I do them, very rarely nowadays. But I still love going to the theaters. I've seen a bunch of movies this year and I thought, hey, let's combine all of them and do just quick fire reviews for each one of them and give them a letter grade. So it's A through F. That's how it works. A or A plus is like super loved it. F, no good. Also, disclaimer, some of the movies that I'm not going to be talking about because I already did videos on them are Deadpool and Wolverine, Dune Part 2, which I think is still my movie of the year, Dune Part 2, movie of the year of 2024 in my opinion, The Substance, Hitman, Madam Web, and then these are other ones that I've already covered on this channel for the year of 2024 that I just don't want to take more time to talk about. Today I'm going to be talking about movies that I haven't talked about on this channel. Also, like I said, don't really do reviews anymore on this channel, but if you want to keep up with my reviews, follow me on Letterboxd. That's how I'm going to keep track of basically what I've seen this year, what I want to talk about in this video. These are just movies that I've seen this year. Log them in all the time, right? Like little reviews. It's fun. Follow me on Letterboxd. Anyways, with all of that being said, let's get started with the latest movie that I've seen, which will probably be my last new movie that I watched in 2024, and that will be Juror number 2, directed by Clint Eastwood, starring Nicholas Hoult and a bunch of other people. Now, I don't blame you if you haven't heard about this movie. This movie is now out on Max, but Warner Brothers like really effed up with the release of this movie because when it came out like a month ago, it only came out in 50 theaters, which was a damn shame because this movie is actually really good. This is my type of movie. Tight, really well written, character study, talking about morality. It doesn't have anything like crazy in terms of action happen, but it's just so well written and keeps you engaged. And if you don't know what the concept of this movie is, I'm just going to tell you it because the concept is what drew me to this movie when I first heard the synopsis of it. So the synopsis of this movie, Justin, played by Nicholas Hoult, gets summoned to jury duty. And as he goes to jury duty, he hears about the case that he has to, sit through. And he realizes that he is the one that committed the crime. I mean, when I heard that immediately, I was like, this movie's going on my must-watch for this year. And then it only came out in 50 theaters. But now it's now on Max, or HBO Max, whatever you have. Check it out. I highly recommend it. It's really good. I'm telling you, you'll be sitting there at the end of the movie thinking to yourself, damn, what would I do if I was in his situation? Because the situation that they write Nicholas Hoult's character in is absolutely just feels like impossible to get out of or make the right decision. And I absolutely love that. Really enjoy that. Clint Eastwood, 94 years old, and releasing this banger. Juror number 2 in my eyes gets an A-, and that's only because the ending felt a little abrupt, but honestly, if you paid attention, and again, paid attention to how certain characters are moving, you know where it's going. Next up, just kind of going down the lines of the order of movies that I've seen. Next up, we have Nosferatu, directed by Robert Eggers, again starring Nicholas Hoult. Nicholas Hoult had an amazing year. Shout out to him. Lex Luthor next year. But this is my second Robert Eggers film. First one that I saw was Lighthouse a couple years ago. I feel like I have to rewatch The Lighthouse because I feel like maybe I just wasn't in the right state of mind when I was watching it. But in terms of Nosferatu, what I really enjoyed is the visuals, the horror elements, just the aura of the whole movie. Really enjoyed that. And the performances by Lily Rose Depp and Bill Skarsgård as Nosferatu were real standouts in this film. They were both spectacular in the movie. The movie is filled with great performances. Willem Dafoe shows up like halfway through the movie and kind of just like steals the movie a little bit. But Bill Skarsgård and Lily Rose Depp were huge standouts in this. However, I know that Eggers likes to take his time and really meditate with the story and play it at a slower pace. Now that slower pace may not be everybody's cup of tea. Sometimes I did feel like the movie was dragging a little bit. So I would say for me, that's kind of like my only negative of the movies, that sometimes I felt like we were moving at too much of a slower pace. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and give Nosferatu a B. Next up, we have a brand new action Christmas movie starring Taron Egerton and Jason Bateman called Carry On that came out on Netflix a couple weeks ago. And this movie is just fun. It's just so much fun set in Christmas time. Just a dumb, fun action movie that gets more ridiculous by every minute. But like, it's like good and you actually kind of like the characters. Also, shout out to Taron Egerton for introducing us to like his own new action star running style. You know how Tom Cruise got the running style that we have? Taron Egerton after this movie might have like kind of introduced us and Hollywood to his own running style. He's a bit of a smaller guy. He's a bit built too. So he runs like this kind of, and he runs a lot in this movie. An action movie that like you know where it's going, but like again, you don't have to think too much of it, and it's really fun. And also Jason Bateman as the villain works really well in this movie without having to do too much or without having to do too much different stuff from Jason Bateman. It's Jason Bateman delivering lines in this kind of dead tone Jason Bateman style. But because he's delivering these kind of bad guy lines, it actually sounds really creepy when it's coming from the way he's doing it. I need more movies to have this kind of energy, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a B+. Next movie that I didn't talk about is a movie that was carried so heavily by one performance that I was like, damn, that performance might actually deserve an Oscar nomination, even though I didn't think the movie was all that great. I thought the movie was all right, but this one performance was like amazing in it, and that is Heretic. Hugh Grant in this movie is amazing, like just steals the whole thing. Majority of this movie is discussions about religion and what it all means and dissections of religion, and again, majority of this movie is just Hugh Grant's character describing all of these ideas to these two girls that he's like kidnapping. But because it's Hugh Grant doing it in this charming, fun way, I'm like engaged in the conversation. I'm telling you, his back must hurt from carrying this movie. If you're into like religion and all these kind of discussions, you might find this movie really fascinating. Me personally, didn't really find it all that fascinating. But again, this one performance, like I was like, yeah, okay, I will recommend this movie to people just because of this one performance. So with that, I'm going to give Heretic a C. Oh my God. Okay. Next up is a movie that's after Dune 2 is my second favorite movie of 2024. And that is Anora. Anora was fantastic, full of energy, really funny, sexy too. It was amazing. It was a great time. It really reminded me of Uncut Gems. The visual style of it, the chaotic nature of it, the anxiety-inducing scenes sometimes with people talking over each other and yelling at each other. It had a lot of really fun energy, and Mikey Madison in this role was fantastic. She's amazing in it. I can definitely see potentially an Oscar win coming her way for this. And the supporting cast was great too. But the movie is so chaotic and dark too, in like a dark comedy way, that it's fun, at least for me. I see the tragedy that it has, but I also more enjoyed the chaotic fun nature of it. The editing in this movie was really good too, made the runtime fly by. I kind of wanted maybe a little more from it too. So with that, honestly, because this is my second favorite movie of the year after Dune 2, I'm going to give Anora an A+. Next movie is a directorial debut from Anna Kendrick that came out on Netflix earlier this year, and that is called Woman of the Hour. This movie is based on a true story about a serial killer in the 70s who would kill women but also went on a dating show. Never heard about this true story. Decided to check out this movie because it was recommended to me by a friend. And I was really blown away, actually, by Anna Kendrick's direction. The visual style of it. Honestly, what really stood out to me is the stuff that she did with the audio. Her audio work was fantastic in this movie. There's some scenes where audio cuts in and out, audio gets loud to just really create that disturbing horror elements when we're just sitting in a scene. I remember at the end, there's a scene where Anna Kendrick also stars in this movie as the lead. And she goes on this date with the serial killer guy, and they're sitting at a restaurant and they're talking, and then the audio starts to cut out and he starts to be more creepy, and it's just them two. No other. They're at a restaurant, but you can't hear anybody else. You can't hear anything else. And it really becomes really, really unsettling. Also, in a movie like this, you kind of need, your actor who plays the serial killer or the bad guy to really bring it. And I thought Zavato, who plays the serial killer in this movie, did a really good job because he was like an intimidating, very uncomfortable presence. Also, you can definitely see how he can turn on that charm to like get people close to him to then hurt them. As far as directorial debuts go, I thought this was a fantastic directorial debut for Anna Kendrick. And with that, I'm going to give it a B+. Next up, I'm going to keep this brief because it's a Sonyverse movie. Now, I didn't see Craven yet, and I'm probably never going to see Craven, but I did see Venom: The Last Dance, and I hated all the other Venom movies. I hate this whole Sonyverse thing. Thankfully, it's now over. Sony's going to rethink it all. You got to. These were bad. But these Venom movies were actually the ones that made money. And Venom: The Last Dance, it's bad, but it's honestly like fun bad. I laughed a couple times, and you know what? Seeing some of the symbiotes there at the end, all the different types, was like kind of cool, honestly. So even though it's bad fun. I'm gonna give Venom: The Last Dance a D plus, maybe a C minus. Let's just stick with a D plus, just because I hate these movies. Next up is a documentary called The Menendez Brothers. The Menendez Brothers is a thing that I've heard about and I like read on Wikipedia about a couple years ago. Then a friend of mine watched this on Netflix and put a recommendation out for me, so I checked it out. There is a Menendez brother like Ryan Murphy show going on too at the same time, but this is an actual like documentary of this event. It's one of the toughest watches I have ever had to sit through, honestly. The documentary is really good, and because the documentary came out and a lot of people started watching it and all the TikTok stuff and all of that shine more light on this, the Menendez brothers actually are now getting their case looked at again, and potentially are going to have, you know, be going into an appeal. So that's good to hear, because this is a really tragic story. And this documentary does a really good job of kind of painting a picture of what media was like back in the 90s. And honestly, you look at this documentary and you look at the media back in the 90s and you're like, there's no way they would talk like this on TV, especially about a case like this. Like, they were determined to bury these boys. And it is crazy. This documentary is extremely uncomfortable, but also really insightful. One of the things, again, like I really enjoyed, is just how it encapsulates and shows us what the media and the power that the media had back when this trial was happening, and how much that influenced where this trial went. Personally, the Menendez Brothers documentary that's on Netflix gets an A. If you like these kind of stories, and if you want to know more kind of about this Menendez Brothers case, I highly recommend you check this documentary out. Next up is probably my third favorite movie of the year after Dune and Anora, and that is The Wild Robot. Wow, what a film that was. I saw it twice in theaters. It's fantastic. The soundtrack is beautiful. Just beautiful, full of emotions, full of great voice performances too. Lupita Nyong'o is amazing in this. Like, you don't even recognize her in there. Pedro Pascal is in this, and you do pick up Pedro, but Lupita, I thought, was fantastic in this, and it's a great animated film. It looks fantastic. It's full of great emotions, full of great life lessons for everybody, for kids and parents too. And the soundtrack, I mean, the soundtrack's great. And we're getting more of these. I didn't even know these were based on a book. There's 2 more books, and the sequel's coming. And then the third one too. So that's really cool. I'm down for that. For me, The Wild Robot gets an A+. Next up, I'm also going to keep this short, and that is Joker: Filet Adieu. This movie sucked. It was bad. It didn't know what it wanted to be. The musical sequences were bad. They were drawing out the runtime of this movie so much. Like, they served pretty much no purpose. The movie is just baffling. It's crazy. The ending is like, what's going on here? What are you doing? And I liked the first Joker movie. I'm not as big of a fan of it as a lot of people are, but I liked the first Joker movie. This one was just a complete misfire. For me, Joker: Filet Adieu gets an F. So Joker gets an F. Now let's talk about a great movie that actually blew me away and surprised me, because the trailer for this movie sucked so much, but the movie actually turned out to be really great. And that is Transformers 1. Paramount, what were you doing with the marketing and the trailer for this movie? Because when I saw the trailer, and I only seen like the one trailer I think they released, I was like, the animation looks all right, but it looks really like kid-like, really cheesy. He's got those terrible jokes. It doesn't look like it's for me as a guy who's in his 20s. But once the movie came out, people were like, yo, this movie's actually great. I was like, oh, hold on, wait, I gotta see it. And then me and my buddy went to go see it, and I was actually blown away by how layered this movie is. Yeah, the movie is fun, and it's got those jokes for kids, and it's got great animation, and it's got cool Transformers actions, but it's also like extremely layered and mature also. And it's one of those movies that it's got jokes, but when it needs to take itself seriously, it takes itself seriously. It doesn't have those jokey moments to undercut the serious moments. There was a moment at the end of this movie. Can I talk spoilers? Am I allowed to talk spoilers? I'm going to talk spoilers. Just a little bit about the ending of Transformers 1. Okay, so if you haven't seen it, when Megatron shoots Optimus Prime and Optimus gets in between the shot and gets his shit blown off, I legit, my jaw dropped and I was like, yo, I looked at myself and I was like, I am so locked into this movie. The movie surprised me. Probably the biggest surprise of the year because again, that trailer to me looked bad, but the movie was actually really, really good, and hopefully gets a sequel. I don't really know if I need a sequel, but I mean, I'm down, I guess, yeah. So for me, with all that being said, Transformers 1 gets an A. Fantastic. Next up is a sequel to a very popular film from the 90s that I've seen maybe like once, but then I didn't rewatch it to prepare for this one, and that is Twisters. Twisters is just dumb fun popcorn flick. Charming cast. Good CGI too on the tornadoes, destroying everything. They run away from tornadoes. Like, what more can I say? You know what I mean? It's fun. It's not bad. Just the one thing that I didn't really understand about this movie is what they wanted to do with the three main stars, Anthony Ramos, Daisy Edgar Jones, and Glenn Powell. Because it was like, are they trying to set up like a three triangle relationship? Like, obviously Glenn Powell's going to get the girl at the end, but Anthony Ramos' character was also kind of doing something in there relationship-wise. And I was like, I don't really know what the movie's trying to do here. So yeah, this came out in the summer, and in terms of summer blockbusters, this was fun. I'm going to give Twisters a C+. You guys like the A Quiet Place franchise? Because we got a kind of spin-off film here, A Quiet Place Day One, starring Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn. Joseph Quinn, man, taking off. Good for him. He's fantastic in this movie. Lupita is also fantastic in this movie. And this movie, for its runtime and also for its story, it didn't do anything super unique to add to the franchise, but it's like a nice little entry, you know what I mean? It's like, you watch this movie and you're like, I'm glad to be back in this world, getting a different perspective. It's set in New York City this time with two likable characters too. The premise of this movie, very simple. Two characters, they gotta get across New York to a safe location, and that's it. And through the journey, they kind of get to like know each other a little bit, and yeah. And with that, I'm gonna give A Quiet Place Day One a B-. Next up is a movie with a stacked cast of Tom Hardy, Austin Butler, Jodie Comer, and some other people too, that I was expecting more from, but it played it very, very safely. And that is The Bike Riders. When I saw the Bike Riders trailer, I was like, this is going on my list of most anticipated movies of 2024. And when I saw the movie, I was like, it turned out to be just all right. I thought it should have done more. Now, it's based on a true story, so maybe it didn't really have more to do, but it really did feel like Goodfellas, It really felt like we were going to see some more action happen in this one, but we didn't. We saw some good performances, some good writing, and it truly did feel like the movie played it very, very safely, where I thought they could have done more with this one. So I guess in that sense, this movie was a little bit underwhelming for me. Overall, I was really excited for this movie, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna give The Bike Riders a C. Okay, next up is my hot take of the year, and that is, I don't really care about the Mad Max world or Mad Max Furiosa. Now listen, fantastic visuals, great action sequences. I will give it that plus. They are good. There's an action sequence in this movie where the guy started parachute flying, attacking the cargo that they were trying to attack. And I literally, sat up in my seat like, wait, hold on, this looks great. But man, I just can't bring myself to care about this world and these characters and the story. I don't. I rewatched Mad Max Fury Road to prepare for this one. And in both of these movies, I was like, great visuals, great action sequences. But I need more. I want to care about these characters and I want to care about this story. But I just don't. And also the runtime of this movie started to drag. It's just not for me, right? I guess these stories are just not for me. So with that, I'm going to give Furiosa a C. Now, that's again, it's kind of like average for me, but a lot of people were really high on this. That's why I'm saying this is my hot take of the year, that I was just nowhere near as high on this movie as a lot of other people are. Next up, we got the Zendaya tennis movie, and that is Challengers. This movie took a little bit to get going for me. In the first half, as they're setting up, their throuple relationship, I was not really into it, but by the end of the movie, I was, again, sitting up in my seat because I was locked in on that final tennis match. The stuff that they were doing with the camera to just spice up that tennis match and the visuals of it, I was like, holy shit, this is amazing, actually. So the movie kind of had like a incline for me, right? Which I guess is kind of how you want to experience the movie, right? End on a high. The performances from the three leads were fantastic in this movie. The filmmaking was great. A lot of people are really high on the soundtrack of this movie, and I see it. You know, it's a vibe, but in my head, I just couldn't get this idea out that this soundtrack sounds like something that would be playing in the background of a John Wick scene where he's killing a bunch of people at the club. So yeah, for me, Challengers gets a B+. That final tennis match, ooh, the stuff that the camera was doing, it was moving. The next movie is an interesting movie because in the year of 2024, where we had the US presidential election, this movie should have left more of an impact, and it just didn't. It came out one weekend, we all saw it, and then we just never talked about it again. The biggest shame of this movie is just that it just left no cultural impact, I think, whatsoever. And that is Civil War, directed by Alex Garland, who directed Ex Machina. I have a movie reaction to Ex Machina on this channel. Really did enjoy Ex Machina. Civil War, I was excited for. This is one of the highest A24 productions, if not the highest. And you definitely see where the money goes because there are some sequences in this movie, like action sequences. Stuff starts to get blown up and all of that starts to happen. Great performances by everybody in this movie too. Great visuals, really enjoyed those too. But I felt like the story should have done more and left more of an impact on me and everybody. It felt like the movie should have been more important, but then that never happened for it. Now that could be because the movie kind of plays it neutrally. It doesn't pick sides, which was something that I liked while watching the movie, but honestly looking back on it, is that I'm asking a question, like, do you think could that be its biggest negative? Should it have picked a side? The ending of the movie is also just really abrupt and kind of underwhelming. So with that, I really did want to love Civil War, but I'm just gonna go ahead and give it a C. Earlier in the video, we talked about a directorial debut from Anna Kendrick. Now we have a directorial debut from Dev Patel, and that is his action movie Monkey Man. Now this movie, congratulations to Dev Patel, because as far as directorial debuts go, you did a good job, especially all the stories about all the physical injuries he went through while filming, because he also stars in this movie and there's a lot of physicality in here. All the foots and hands and everything that he broke and injured. Also, they had their equipment like stolen or lost or something. They had to film some of this on an iPhone. As far as all the challenges he faced as, you know, first-time director, I think he did a pretty good job of creating a good action movie. I do have an issue with it. Sometimes I did feel nauseous watching this movie because of the major close-ups and the shaky cam. He was bringing shaky cam back into the action genre, and I was like, bro, we cannot be doing this, okay? I know you just got here directing this movie, but we cannot be doing this. Also, the close-ups of this movie, I remember, were pissing me off. I was like, dude, back up the camera. We gotta back up here, okay? But when the camera did back up and let the action breathe, hey, we were getting down. We were getting down with it. There were some really cool action sequences in this. So again, as far as directorial debuts go, I thought Dev Patel did a good job. I'm excited to see what he does next. So with that, Monkey Man for me also gets a C. I want to take this little break to be like, C, when I give a movie a C rating, I'm like, I watched it, there's a lot of positives in it, but I just thought it was all right. You know what I mean? Maybe I was expecting more from it. The B's and the A's are reserved for more movies that kind of stuck with me a little more, you know what I mean? So a C, it's not a bad rating. It's also just, ratings can be different. It's also like what I say about the movie really matters and goes into the rating. I really feel like I should have done a rating here because I feel like ratings kind of mess everything up, but whatever, here we are. I just looked at my list and it turns out that was it. Those are all the new releases that I saw in 2024. And I think in terms of 2024 as a movie year, it was a strong year. I also did see, side note, I also did see Interstellar in 70mm IMAX. Oh my god. It's on one of the biggest screens, if not the biggest IMAX screen in the world in New York City. It was fantastic. What an experience. If you got to do that, congratulations. I mean, what an experience that was. That's amazing, breathtaking. To end this video, we also watch a bunch of TV shows on the channel. So here's just really quickly my top 3 TV shows of the year, and that is Shogun. Really love Shogun. Man, Shogun seems like so long ago. This was a long year. Shogun came out earlier this year. Fantastic. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that came out on Amazon Prime. I binged it in one weekend, really had a blast with it. I'm so happy it's getting a season 2. Now Donald Glover and Maya Erkin are definitely not returning for that one, and no spoilers. But you know, check out Mr. and Mrs. Smith if you haven't, because it really was fantastic. Blew me away. Alongside with Transformers 1, Mr. and Mrs. Smith is like my TV show biggest surprise, because I didn't really know what to expect from it, but I was really hooked on it because I just binged all of it. And number one goes The Penguin. So we have The Penguin, which was fantastic, probably my show of the year. And then we have Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Shogun. Good stuff. My most disappointing show of 2024, it has to be House of the Dragon, because it's like, dude, you released half a season. You were like, here's more setup for the war. Come back in season 3 in 2 years. I found that to be really disappointing. Just off the top of my head, maybe there are more. No, I think I really enjoyed everything else. I think House of the Dragon was kind of just disappointing. Let me know down in the comments what movies you saw this year. Give them a rating too. Maybe write little reviews if you want to down in the comments. Have fun with it. Follow me on Letterboxd, because even though I may not be doing reviews on this channel for new release movies, I do go to the movies often, or I try to go to the movies as much as I can nowadays. And I find it really fun. Maybe we'll bring more reviews back. The next movie review that I'm definitely doing is the new Captain America movie that's coming out in February. So I will see you then for a movie review. But check out my other reactions on this channel and my other videos. I'd really appreciate that. This channel grew a lot this year. Let's grow more in 2025. Happy New Year to you. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you guys next year, or just next video, okay? Peace.